All right, welcome. My name is Jerry Cabazzuto of godislovetruthlife.com or godislovetruthfreedom.com because a life without freedom is not a life worth living. And today I have again my wonderful guest, Dr. Dustin Plattner. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Jerry. Thanks for the invitation back. This is
Oh,
great.
of
Yeah,
course. Yeah. And you have a lot
appreciate it.
of course, you have a lot of amazing things happening. A lot of websites that we're going to discuss today. Maybe we'll start with your Sovereign Systems website. What's new there?
Oh,
And what's
great.
what's
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of interesting to sort of explain what I do in my activist work. So I have my profession and my career of being a clinical psychologist. So I do that and help families. But then also coming to understand sort of the foundation of how this world works, and really to distill it down, it's the golden rule. Treat each other how you would want to be treated, and that's just a foundation I think we all need to get back to, because um, there can be and is a lot of suffering in the world, and it's caused a lot by people not treating each other how they would want to be treated. So really kind of getting back to the basics is how I approach thoughts, my thought life, and then how to help others come to get back to foundations as well. So I'm going to get to the sovereign systems, but I want to explain a little bit, that brushstroke of what I do. Um, so I think in my psychology profession and how I help folks is, one is my clinical training, but then also, like I was saying, being foundationalized in the golden rule. I think that's really, really important, and that can really help a lot of distress and a lot of resolving of internal pathologies that people have,
right?
and can build a lot of good, strong character in people. And even in children, when I work with families and kids, it builds along a lot of strength and character in them, of understanding how they want to be treated and treating others that way as well. So it's a really good foundation um, to put into people's lives, and to help give people hooks to hang on so they can thrive by using the foundational element of the golden rule. So, in understanding that process, so my activation and my energy was, what are the other things in this world that things aren't going so well for people? And one is technology. We use technology a lot. It's really important. We're on technology now. We're using this platform, and what I would call it is big technology. And it's kind of gotten to be a bit of a monopoly in some way, where one really can't interact with some of these main big tech platforms without giving over their identity, without using traditional banking systems. You have to use the traditional banking systems. You have to give over identity. You have to give an email. You have to give a phone number. It's all this stuff. And
Right.
so, and we don't know really what they do with this technology. And we do know that, on to the negative, there's been whistleblowers that have shown that they're taking they're using the technology, the big tech companies, and they might be using it for nefarious purposes, even though they say they don't, because of the whistleblowers, going back to what I was saying. So that's not the golden rule, right?
Right.
So that's a problem. So in my mind, I have a talent for mechanical thinking, and I like to solve puzzles. And so I really got into, apart from my career as a clinical psychologist, I've also gotten into working with computers because I've really
Amazing.
liked to do that. And so, and then I saw that, thinking about the golden rule, like I was just explaining, well, that's not being applied in the big tech space in the industry. Um, so I was thinking, well, how can I use my talents to try to build something into the space that will allow people to have other choices, um, and where they could use technology that wouldn't require all the invasive um, identity, giving over your identity. It's called Know Your Customer KYC. It's these silly things that governments bring up into the world, and and so people follow along. Companies follow along with this because they're cowards.
Yeah.
So it's really infuriating to see this big tech movement go this way. So we have to have other choices. And so there's a lot of good stuff out there that's building a good platform for people. And so I decided to throw my hat into the ring and add um, into this system of giving people other options to use technology that you wouldn't have to give your ID in traditional banking systems. So in particular, this movement's called sovereign computing, where you own the whole little infrastructure. And so what I mean by that, so if we would think about big tech technology, we would think about, well, there's the cloud. Okay, so that's one thing people use. They put documents and data in the cloud. And then
Right.
there's this option of, okay, well, yeah, we can also, edit documents in the cloud. So there's one piece of big tech. Another piece of big tech is communication. Um, Chatting, texting, and video conferencing. That's another piece that's big tech. Um, this platform's big tech.
Yeah.
So so that's another technology, okay? And then, well, we could think about other technologies that are big tech. Hosting a website. Well, you got to use big tech infrastructure to do so.
Right.
And then the last piece, right, is banking. Well, that's all a horrible, horrible system because of privacy invasions, because of KYC, because that they can freeze your accounts that in the banking system, you have to apply by certain rules, and it's heavily monitored. So all these things. So that's a problem.
Right.
And so then Bitcoin offers that alternative to freely interact in the world without that intervention. So, how do we get a system all put together? And that's what Sovereign Systems is. That's what I called it. And then it has an operating called Sovereign Systems OS, and it's a computer. So, it has an operating system called Sovereign Systems OS, and it's a little computer that runs that operating system. And I call that little computer the Sovereign Pro. So, it allows you to have all those things that I said, but not in the big tech realm, but in your own, running from your own home. And then I try to make it really, really easy, the best I could possible, to make it easy for people to run and have that experience. So what's new? Going back to your original question, what's new is I updated the Sovereign Pro, where I am basically, there's a manufacturer that makes the little computer, and then I get it, and then I install Sovereign Systems OS, which is an open source software, and it's meaning it's open source where anyone can look at it and view it. And then it runs all that software where you don't have to install anything. It runs out of the box, and so I just update the hardware so it's faster. It has more memory, it has more storage, and so yeah, that's what's new in that world.
Sweet. Yeah, I'm excited to get mine. And as a former Luddite transforming into a podcaster,
Yeah.
etc., content creator, yeah, I'm very excited to right now I'm sort of adopting like a hybrid approach where like I do have an Apple laptop, but I'm excited to have like a Linux based
Mhm.
um desktop that I can also work on my private, like my personal stuff on. That way I
Mhm.
have like two personas, a public and a private one. Um, and yeah, I'm very excited about the usability because I think that's the biggest hurdle for people like me. Like I want to
Mhm.
do, um, more. I want to have more privacy about, with my data, but it's helpful to to have this. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, that's right. And this gives you options, right? You can be, if you want to be in the big tech world, you can, but at least you have another option if you want to branch off and have communications that are private. And it's the infrastructure is in your home. It's on that little Sovereign Pro. It's you don't rely on anyone else's infrastructure. That's the
Right.
beauty of it. That's the sovereignty of it, right? Um, but yes, and so it'll give you that option and the usability. And so I help folks once they get one. It's 6 months of tech support that I'll try to help them navigate. But again, everything's installed. You just plug it in and turn it on. Um,
Sweet.
yeah, and then it looks like a big tech operating system. So you know where all the buttons are. It looks very familiar, and it just uses all open source software. Lot of things that we use are open source, like a lot of the web browsers that we use are open source. Um, some of a lot of the core of operating systems are open source, but folks have gotten big tech took that open source technology and then made their own sort of spin off of it and then closed it up. But the base came from an open source system. So I'm doing sort of the same thing, but I'm just keeping the whole thing open source. I'm not closing down as a proprietary system. And a lot of it is just me putting this all. I didn't really create all the software that's on it. I'm a curator. I pulled it all together and then put it into one package, right? And
Yeah.
so that was my idea. I want to just put a nice package together for people so they could use it and they don't have to install it all. It's already done. But yeah, that's going to give you more options, and then yeah, it'll be exciting. I'll work along with you so you can get the handle on it, and yeah, we'll go from there.
Yay. Yeah, and hopefully once this is released, you'll get some more orders as well.
Yeah, that'll be great. Yep, that'll be great. A lot of gifting will, yeah, be appreciated.
For sure. And that segues really well into another project that you have going.
Hmm.
Tell me about your practical anarchy education course and why you started that and how I'm very happy with the course so far, myself as a student. Yeah, tell us more about it.
Yeah, well, thank you. Yeah, so that's another thing. Again, there's a lot that I do in sort of a package, but it's all foundationalized in the golden rule. So how the things, well, how can I else help people? Well, one is the tech, one is, my clinical psychology, and another one's the tech because, I like that. That's fun for me. So I created that. And then another way is, well, education on some of these finer details on the big things is Bitcoin, how to use it,
Right.
how to use it in a way where you're outside the jurisdiction of all governments. So you can fully 100% own it without giving over ID, right? And store your wealth that way where it's not involved with any governments. Um, and that sort of segues into this other avenue that understanding that I've come to understand that governments work off of jurisdiction and they most of the time they work off of a voluntary agreement into their jurisdiction.
Right.
Most of the time they work that way. And so understanding then, well, how do I interact in the world where I commit no violence to any sentient being? I don't.
Right.
And then how do people learn, well, okay, I don't commit any violence to any sentient being. And then how do I then behave responsibly in the world where I'm sovereign, where I don't have to navigate into the jurisdiction of governments that use violence? All governments use violence. All
Right.
governments are foundationalized in theft. They
Right.
steal property. Um, and and the biggest thing is, like I said, a lot of it's not volunteering into it. So there is some sort of choice point. However, um, governments do a tricky thing by using deception to push the person to think that that's the only option. They don't give a fully informed consent when you move in with a government jurisdiction.
Right.
And straightforward, it's not very straightforward. And so there is a choice point, but yet they're still foundationalized in using deception to pull someone in. And me understanding that and learning that through my process, well, I've had a lot of success with learning about some of these techniques. It's a big topic, and I'm going to keep learning more. But in that practical anarchy.education, now going back to that, that's a membership website, which is free. And then after you sign the agreement, you come into the membership as a student. And then that's where I teach Bitcoin, what I just said, how to use Bitcoin in a way that's not involved in government jurisdiction. How I've used the techniques of getting out of jurisdictions and ending contracts with governments, the stuff that I've used that's worked. So I teach that. And then also the spiritual component, which is spiritual anarchy. Anarchy means just without a ruler, without a master. That's what anarchy really truly means. The other
Right.
definitions are mind control techniques where it subverts the definition so you don't actually know what it actually
Right.
means. And there's a lot of dedicated organizations that try to get us to have misinformation about definitions. So
True.
anarchy means, yeah, so anarchy means just simply without a master, without a ruler. And the spiritual aspect is we never, as our species, the golden rule, we never act violently towards any other sentient being. That means stealing.
Right.
So so as long as we have that spiritual power in us to never harm, and then understanding how to resolve and peacefully end the contracts, and then how to stay out of jurisdictions moving forward, and then how to use Bitcoin to help secure wealth and purchasing power over the upcoming years. That's what I teach in the course, and I teach it what's worked, what I've done in my life. So it's gnosis. It's me actually knowing and holding on to the information practically, and that's that. So I thought that was also another thing where I can share talents that way of what I've discovered. It's another branch of what I do. But yeah, so that's an explanation of the whole system.
Yeah, wow. I mean, I'm just like so honored to like know you as a friend because you're just so your expertise areas are so diverse, and it's just great
Mm-hmm.
that you know so much about these topics, and you've clearly gone through the trivium for them, and the fact that you're sharing is great. So that way we all can, yeah, because I think, natural law, the golden rule, these ideas, these concepts of like non-aggression and just, yeah, just defending one's property. These these are
Yes.
all
Yes.
really well and good theoretically, but like having these sort of practical applications is just so important.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100, yes, 100%. It's one thing to think the theory of it, you're right, and that's great. That's the spiritual part to get the understanding, the foundation, as you were saying. It's 100% right. So we get the foundation of it, but then how do we, put it into the real world? How do we navigate that? And that's what perplexed me for so long is like, well, how do I do this? Um, yeah, rubber meets the road. How do I get my hands on it so I can create action into the world? And that's why the Sovereign Systems came to my mind to do that, because that's something practical. And I use that. I mean, all my websites are hosted off of it. All my communications to my friends and family are hosted off of it. When I do video calls one-on-one, that comes from my Sovereign Pro. Um, uh, my whole it comes with a Bitcoin node, the Sovereign Pro. So it has the whole blockchain, and I myself verify every transaction that I do with my node.
Wow.
So that's what they all do. And so it really gives you practical, hands-on, actionable movement into the world, right? And so that's and then teaching it, and okay, well, how do I do this? Then how do I navigate, since all government is slavery because it's based on violence? Well, I don't want to participate in that. So how do
Right.
I do that practically without causing controversy, without becoming belligerent, without fighting? um, how do I do it in a way that stays in honor?
Right.
And that's that part of the getting out of the jurisdictions and resolving contracts. So how do we go through all those steps where now we can actually put it to use to be a spiritual anarchist, someone that cares deeply, and then someone, like you were saying, Jerry, that protects their property? And
Yeah.
how can we do that? And so that's how this is my sort of movement now in how to do this into the world. And so that's why I'm trying to share it with folks.
Yeah, it's awesome. I wanted to share how cool it is that when you sign up for the practical anarchy.education course that you're running, you have to like join the PMA, the Private Member Super Association. So like you're
Mhm.
literally demonstrating what that looks like to every student.
Yeah, that's right. And it's not open to the public. And even Sovereign Systems is not open to the public. You have
Mhm.
to agree of both of them. You have to agree that
Right.
this is a private contract between me and you, a living man and a living woman. This is a private contract. And in this private space, it's declared that we do not um, do any violence to anyone. That means stealing their property without their consent. We don't
Right.
do any of that. And that then builds peace and builds organization in the contract and in the community. So yes, none of them are open to the public. It's all by private interaction because none of them use bank accounts. None of them are registered with any government associations or any government PMAs. So it's just a private connection between me and the other person. And the beauty about being online and the internet, I can reach out to all kinds of people all over the world. And it's just a private connection. So yeah, that's how it works. Yeah, thanks for bringing that up.
For sure. And then finally, I would love for us to talk about your natural law parenting website, which I'm really excited
Yes.
by. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
So much
Um,
amazing things happening.
yeah, thank you. Uh-huh. So this was an inspiration that I was important as I work with children and families in my practice. My postdoctoral work was in understanding the unconscious minds of children and babies. and
Wow.
really getting into um, deep work in the psychoanalytic realm. And psychoanalysis is the study of the unconscious, and then some further clinicians and analysts kept further studying like what is going on in the baby's mind, what is going on in the child's mind and in the developmental arc of the babies and their interaction with the parents, and what dynamics are brought up. Are there commonalities? Are there unique things that get expressed? And then as a clinician, and how then does one metabolize that in the room, in the consultation room, and then how do we use it to be effective for change for the patient? So that's what I studied in my postdoctoral work. And so I have a big heart for that too. And that, then I was thinking, well, the golden rule, that's how my private membership association is for my clinical practice. It is based off of the golden rule. That's where all members come into the association, and they move into a private space with me, that they agree to the golden rule: not to harm, not to steal property, be treated how they want to be treated. And then, well, that's great. Now, well, how do I help? Since I work with parents and children, well, how do I help parents navigate that space? How can I be more specific and give more like practical tools to help them navigate that? So, well, I did do a public talk at the music festival, Music and Sky, in June of this year, and that's where I sort of introduced this concept of natural law parenting, the way I've kind of seen it. I know Will Keller does a lot of work with conscious parenting, and there might be some other folks in the natural law community, the freedom community, that talk about this. And so, well, how can we keep adding voices and energy to this topic so we can really help parents? Well, then I've led groups before, so I was thinking, well, what's a good way to get parents in to give them support and process? They're able a space to process the parental dynamics that they go through, the emotional dynamics they go through, the ups and downs, the confusions, the successes. So that's what a group process would be like. And so I thought that would be a good idea. And then add in the sort of the psychoeducation component of what is natural law parenting. How do we think about that? How do we, as parents, understand that in their own lives, and how they teach that to their children? Because obviously, we would want our children to be kind, caring beings. Obviously, we would
Yeah.
want that. Obviously, we would want them to feel self-confident inside, and be resilient,
Yeah.
and be able to, as they get older, be able to express their inner thought life and emotional life to the parents. The parents would love that. Mom and dad, grandpa and grandma, aunts and uncles, they would love that. Who's ever caregiving, they would love to hear from their child, their thoughts and feelings. So how do we do that in that process? And I think understanding the concepts of the golden rule, on understanding the concepts of this realm of how this world works, like cause and effect, and the idea of rhythm in life, the idea of polarity. Things get from one end, sometimes things go one end, sometimes things go to another end. The balance of the divine masculine and divine feminine. When really what that means is, when, as a parent, this is all sort of the natural law concept ideas that I'm talking about right now, right?
Right.
So like, yeah, as a parent, when do they put their foot down versus when do they let it go and know how to pick their battles, right?
Right.
How do you balance that, and how do we think about that? So that's divine feminine, divine masculine. Obviously, the divine feminine is nurturing and letting them expand and caring um, and pushing into their creativity so they your children so they keep growing in their creativity and the expression of themselves. Then the divine masculine obviously is, no, you can't do that. You can't run into the street when there's cars coming,
Right.
as as the older adage, you don't stick your finger in a light socket. You're gonna instantly gonna feel what that's like. um those are sort of cliche examples, but that's the idea. You know no, you can't um continually talk back to me. No, you're unable. You're not able to throw a tantrum. No, you cannot throw a tantrum right now. We're going to help you move into a space where you can be more adaptive in the expression of your inner life.
Right.
So this is the concept of divine masculine, divine feminine. So helping parents navigate that space
Right.
along with those concepts of polarity and rhythm and cause and effect. And then this, and that's where morality ties in so nicely to it, because there's cause and effect in morality. If,
Right.
right, if you, I don't know, hit your brother, that's going to cause a lot of stress in the family.
Yeah.
Or, um, or if you're at, um, say you're playing on the playground and you're helping your child know that you can't cut in front of the line when someone was already there.
Right.
um, and these things cause stress and the parents get involved, so they're realizing this cause and effect. And the morality piece of not taking what's not yours, that's the golden rule, right? So these sort of core concepts that maybe most parents have do know some of these things, but I'm trying to synthesize it in a systematic way so they have a package as they're walking through their parenting moments from day to day. That's this overall. Hopefully that was clear, but that's what I was. That's the concept of it.
No, I think it's great, and I think it's like, having it's helping with the great work as well, because you're sort of using these vocabulary terms and introducing them to people that, families
Mm-hmm.
that may not necessarily, be familiar with them or these concepts, and just like, yeah, just, yeah, spreading the word. So it's great. You're helping families
Mm-hmm.
directly, but also indirectly, you're, yeah, educating them on these concepts that to free humanity in general. So,
Yeah, no, yeah, thank you. And that's what I see when parents come into my consultation room. They There's a lot of books and seminars and stuff over all decades and decades of how to help and navigate with children. So a lot of it can be quite fragmented. A lot of it can be very overwhelming. So my goal is to help contain it a bit more, organize it a bit more so it's more approachable. And what I mean by it is having a concept in your mind that you can go to when you're in the heat of the parenting moment, that you can go back to and help calm you and organize you as the caregiver, so then it can be applied to your child, which will eventually mitigate the situation and create an opportunity for growth. So that's the aim of this um, group therapy, the natural law parenting group therapy um, sessions, is to, that's the goal, is to help parents have something they can hold on to in the moment.
it's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm just gonna go there because I might as well. I find that like with my parenting, like when it's my turn with the kids, like things are pretty smooth. It's just the navigating of the different value sets. And I brought this up specifically like surrounding just like meals and stuff is always tough.
Uh-huh.
But I also recognize as a parent who's living under natural law, right? Like I can declare a position and let people let my co-parent know that like they're infringing on other people's natural law rights by forcing children to eat meat that may not necessarily be welcome, for example. Um, yeah, and just like hoping that like my parenting will make a difference one day.
Mhm. Mhm. Yes. This is, um, this is a bit tricky too, so this adds another layer. So, and I wanna get to you specifically to you, Jerry, but I'm just trying to sort of summarize this concept of what folks that do understand morality and the golden rule and, not to harm, and all sentient beings, us and any species that seeks emotional care for emotional care's sake, um, we don't have the right to their property, which is their life. And so being in that position, yes, it's going to be quite hard for folks that aren't there or don't want to hear that. And then if you have children together, the co-parenting dynamic, and this is what, yeah, it's very tough. But what I want to add to you is the beauty of our species is that we as little children, we our parents' voices and our parents' behavior towards us are extremely powerful, and the energy on which they um, drill into our bones of the influence that mom and dad have on us, our caregiver or our caregivers have on us, basically never goes away. So, what I'm saying is, your words are very, very powerful in your children's lives, and they will always remember what you're saying and connect in. And so, even if it feels as if it's diluted or minimized or they're not hearing you,
Yeah.
they are. They're taking it in. They're not letting it go. And then, yes, if you have another co parent that's sort of teaching the opposite, it's quite unfortunate. But like I've thought and said before, is this understanding where as long as you're being vocal, as as being a friend of yours, I know that you are, and being vocal and saying this is how it is, and I don't approve, and I will continue never to approve for this of this, and and it's really disappointing that you keep doing this, and it really it really makes me not want to connect with you. But I have to because of our co-parenting dynamic. But it really, I really lose a lot of respect when that happens. And
Yep.
those, those are the words that must be shared. That's one way of navigating the space.
Yeah.
You're just being straightforward, and that's what it is. And then with your children, yeah, this is how it is. And this is what moms come to understand about how the world works. That, right, loves you. We don't have the right to harm, take the life of an animal. It's not our right. And that's
Yeah.
what your mother has come to understand about the world, because it causes suffering. And
Right.
so as your mother, this is how I'm going to run my life, and I do it because I care and I love you. And then you can come in and see how it feels for you. But this is how mommy's gonna run her life. Something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I definitely yeah, I've been taking your advice and using some of those scripts. I've also noticed that I've been telling my son, who's 5 and who's kind of going back and forth between me and their dad with the different types of eating styles. And he'll ask me, you know, is it bad or good to eat chicken? Is dad right or wrong? I just go, look, listen to your heart. If I was to go and grab a chicken right now, kill it, take out its feathers, cook it, and put it on a plate for you, how would you feel about that? And then my son goes, well, bad, I wouldn't want it. I'm like, there you go. It's in your heart. You don't have to, I'm not your boss. Your dad's not your boss. Just listen, like feel it. It's there. It's called care. You can feel
Mhm.
it, and
Mhm.
don't let go of that. Because I think
Mhm.
that's what happens is like people just like let go of that connection and then they lie to themselves and let themselves think it's
Mhm.
okay, and
Mhm.
and they
Mhm.
lose their way.
Mhm. Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, I think that was great. And then adding into what you said, even saying something like, just observe back. It's like, honey, yeah, you're asking me that question. It seems like you're thinking about it and you're confused on what the answer is.
Mm.
And then stop talking and then see what he says. And then say, well, well, honey, what do you think? I know you're asking mom and I'll help you with it, but what do you think?
Mm.
And see what he can put together. Or if he can't, if they're a little bit younger like that, you say, well, maybe if you want, you can draw it. Here's some stuff. We can draw it
Mm.
together. And
Right.
maybe, or we can paint what you might be thinking or your thoughts on it. If you want to do that with mommy, I'll sit down with you. I don't, if you'd want to, that's something we can
Yeah.
do together. And we can process our heart together on it and see where we go. And then you kind of see where he kind of navigates, and then going in and adding what you were saying. Well, yeah, honey, that's what I've come to do, what I've seen, and that's what I want the best for you. If we had to eat it, and I would have to, it wouldn't want to die, and then I would have to, like, put a knife in it and cut it open, and then it wouldn't want that, and all this blood would come out, and then it takes a while for it to die because it'll feel the pain, and then we have to rip all the feathers off, and then you could explain all that, right?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that's, yeah, I think obviously you're great work because your heart cares, and I think there is a magic between children and parents, that as long as the intention is focused on care and love, and it's that divine masculine, it's the divine feminine, divine masculine, and we press in, the magic will create something out of it, even though the stumbling, we may not know what to say or how to do it quite correct, or that didn't feel right. But if the intention and the heart, and you're sharpening yourself as a parent every day, you're trying to sharpen yourself and grow in, that magic will take over and blossom something out of it. um so what I'm saying is, it the magic of parenting, there's this level of sort of forgiveness that will kind of, like, it'll use it and then create it
Mm.
and grow, just like plants do. Sometimes you may not do it just right with the plant, but the plant will figure it out and keep growing, right? There's a tolerance that can happen. And I think that's the same with parenting.
Yeah. I love that analogy. And I I was remarking to one of my friends who's actually in your field, one of
Mm-hmm.
my MFT friends. I feel like the majority of parenting, for me anyway, is like just mirroring and validating what's already
Mm-hmm.
happening. Like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, honey, that looks good, or oh, you feeling happy now, or oh, what are you
Uh-huh.
doing? Like, I'm just constantly just like confirming. Um,
Uh-huh.
but
No,
yeah,
yep. Well,
confirming
and
existence.
yes. That's the divine feminine right there. And then the divine masculine comes in and organizes.
Right.
Um, and so, yeah, usually that's how I approach, I help parents is, you first
Mhm.
observe. Whoa, yeah, you're really excited, love. Or wow, I see you're really angry. You're angry at me. I see you're
Right.
angry. I get it. I see that you're angry.
Mhm.
Okay, I'm gonna help you. You don't I know you don't want me to help you, but I'm still going to help you. There's that sort of energy that's pressed in. That's the divine masculine. But yes, rule of thumb, you typically start with observation. You become Sherlock Holmes, and you're like, okay, you become a scientist. Oh, that happened. That happened. Oh, like I've said before, your sister stole that from you while you were using it, and now you're mad. I see it. I see that happened. You're mad. And then now you're curious. Well, I'm gonna talk to your sister, but what do you need now? What do you need help with? Something like that. The divine masculine comes in and tries then to organize. The feminine sort of expresses and observes, which is that's the more nurturing side. And then yes, the divine masculine comes in to organize.
Okay. I just wanted to kind of bring everything together at this point and sort of ask, how are you able to do all these sorts of amazing projects to, yeah, just spread natural law and get people to live with freedom? What drives you?
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, that's a good question. Um, well, one thing is care. We want to care. We don't want suffering to happen in the world. And once we figure out why suffering happens because of stealing of property, the natural law, um, or going against the golden rule by doing something to someone that you would want to be done to you, but you do it anyways, right? This is what causes suffering. So if once we figure that out, well, then we care, and I care. It's like, oh, well, that's why it happens. So let's help and educate people that way. So that sharing into the world, and when one shares to give and to change their nature, to share into the world, well, then you get light back. It motivates me to keep going, and then um, things happen more smoothly. Uncertainty sort of goes away as I keep sharing. Then I build more certainty into my life as I keep sharing. And sharing can mean, being direct and being confrontive and saying, hey, this is not working. This is not good. Or sharing can mean, hey, let me help you. How can I help you today? This is that sort of esoteric knowledge on um, sort of our deal on this planet. And a lot of this idea comes from Kabbalah. That's another ancient mystery tradition. Um, and so it comes from that realm. This can tie into the tarot as well, and some of these ancient mystery traditions. So understanding these mystics, these mysticisms, can be really helpful in giving uh, having people get filled with God, so then they can share it into the world, which creates more love and care. And that also means, right, this doesn't just mean um, it's always love and light and rainbows and unicorns. Sometimes you have to be direct and say, no, that's not working. You can't do that. This we talked about protecting property. When there's violence coming your way, you have to stand up and say, no, this is my duty. It's my responsibility to protect. And that's pushing light into the world. And as one does that, when they haven't done that before, but they learn about it and they want to do it and press in, that's called being proactive, not reactive, but proactive. It's changing your nature of reactivity into a nature of love and sharing. And so I think that's some of the beauty that I've experienced in my life is to share, and then that gives
Excellent.
back. Does that answer your question? Does that feel okay? What do you think?
Yeah, no, I feel like everything you said I resonate with, and you did a really good job of summarizing. I think it was like a 5 or 6 hour documentary series on the Ark,
Yeah.
or the Wisdom of the Kabbalah documentary, which was excellent.
Uh-huh.
And again, for those that don't know, if you send a 2 terabyte hard drive to Mark Passio, he will
Uh-huh.
send you back 2 terabytes of awesome books, audiobooks, videos on, yeah, just helping folks learn these
Mhm.
esoteric ideas. But yeah, I really like this idea of like um, in the Kabbalah, like transformation, in that like you have to get over this inertial force. You need to do something different to create that yeah, you have to change as a vessel in order for the
Mhm.
light to be received. Um, so um in thinking about and in being inspired about what by what you're doing, like I've also just been like inspired. I'm like, ah, I gotta like, I'm starting to work on presentations. I'm studying like PMA equity stuff on my own as well as with you. Um, and yeah, just like learning about technology in general through this class we're taking, and just, yeah, just getting over this inertial force, this reactivity, this, um, sort of conventional way of doing things, and just putting forth effort, right action.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, no, that's right. It's such a cool way to um create peace in the world. It's a very practical way. Like the idea of, I mean, this is Kabbalah, but this sort of also echoes with some other ancient mystery traditions, but it's a sort of a cool concept, like I was saying, to put peace into the world because it's very practical. If you are feeling overwhelmed or stuck or anxious about something, or maybe a fear that's coming in, well, a reactive state might be to, not get involved, to withdraw, um, to to be more cynical, to be more grumpy. That's fine. That's just a reaction that we have. That's what we have when we have fear. It makes sense.
Wow.
This world is, I mean, we're all under duress. I mean, I don't even know how we're even functioning, having a good time in this planet because we're all under duress.
Yeah.
Eh, uh, so having experiences of frustration and anger and fear, right? That's normal. It's just a world that's just, we're not following the golden rule on this planet, so it's leading to a lot of awfulness. Okay, so my point is, so a proactive transformational, like you were saying, Jerry, a proactive piece is to go in to say, well, I know that the light only wants the best for me. God will only give the best for me. And in order to get that light, I have to share. So I can share in and be transformational. I can be kind to people. I can do an action that, um, something that I wouldn't do before, but I do it into the world. I'm transforming. And that is a practical way. Now I gave light to somebody, and then that activated the light to come to me. So it's a reciprocating process, a cause and effect system. So, yes, I don't know what the original question was, but that's adding to what you said.
Well, yeah, like your sharing of the light, you're getting over that
Yes.
inertial force
Uh-huh.
of
Mhm.
just, yeah, stasis reactivity, um, is is working. It's inspiring me. It's going to inspire other people that interact with you. So it's
Yeah.
happening. And then
Yep.
this that inspired me to do this podcast, which is going to add more students to
Mhm.
you. And it's all going to just we're just creating the change. So
Yeah, that's right. I think I like your, yes. So yes, your heart is very powerful too, and you're a generating force that created into this podcast didn't exist before you created it. You reached out to me to do this. You are a creative being now, and you're sharing your heart and your care to create. Now we've created this together, and
yay.
it's just simply um, not secluding or pulling away, but leaning into and pushing into something you wouldn't have done before. And this is now we get the beautiful benefits, and we keep making the world a better place. Each creative endeavor we push out into the world. It's easy. I mean,
Yay.
once you realize it, just do it.
Exactly. Awesome. Well, that's a great sort of. Is there anything else you wanted to finish on or share before
uh,
we say goodbye?
I think I said a lot. That was a lot. I do appreciate it. Again, it's very kind of you to have me on, the hospitality and your organization, and so yes, I appreciate it.
Awesome. Yeah. So let's plug these websites again. We have sovereignsystems.com, SOVRAN systems.com. We have the naturallawparenting.com website, as well as practicalanarchy.education. And for that
Yes.
class is 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific on Fridays.
Yeah, that's correct. That's how I'm holding the webinars. So inside the hub, once you get in and become a member, then you have chat groups. There's all the chat stuff that people can communicate in. It's all private. It's all running off my Sovereign Pro. Amazing. And
That is amazing.
yeah, yeah, and then I have the webinars, and then we can do video calls, and then there's a cloud, so there's some files I'll upload, and then we can edit files together. It's a whole little hub system. So yeah.
Yay. So yeah, I'm gonna be releasing this later on Wednesday. So if you're listening now, then yeah, sign up soon.
Cool. Thank you, Jerry. Appreciate
Of
it.
course. See you in class.
Okay, all right. See you later. Have a good day. Bye bye.